So what's the big deal about cultured butter? I have been making my own butter off and on for years now, and I've heard about cultured butter, but I've never tried it until just a few weeks ago. Welcome to Milk Slinger. My name is Jennifer. What is cultured butter? Cultured butter is just cream that you culture and then you turn into butter. I started making it and I have not been able to stop. I am obsessed. All you do is you take cream and you culture it and it gets thick and it sets up and then you churn it and you make butter. This morning I skimmed cream from about 7 gallons of milk. The leftover milk I threw into a bucket along with some clabber, and that's going to set up on the porch for a day or so, and then that goes to the chickens and the pigs. From my 7 gallons of milk, I have about 1¼ gallons of cream. There are a number of ways to culture cream. Clabber culture, you can do it with Danica. You can buy packets of freeze-dried culture. You can use buttermilk from a previous batch of cultured butter. I took a little bit of clabber before I used the rest of it to make cheese. So I'm going to take a spoonful like that and kind of stir it up, mash it up, get it creamy. And now I'll just plop a little bit into there, plop, 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 and plop a little bit into there. You could put more in, but the problem with putting more in is if you over-culture it, if you do too much, it sets up faster and you start getting a separation of whey. I haven't seen this with cream, but I have seen it with milk. But you don't want to go over, like you don't want to dump in way too much because then the cream is just gonna acidify too much. Give it a shake to mix it. And then crack the lid because you want it to breathe. You don't want to keep this closed. A little bit of airflow goes in there. And then label the jars. This process takes a couple days from start to finish, so you want to know where you're at. That's why you always write the date when you start out. These live on your counter for the next 24 hours. They breathe and they will culture and they will set up. There they are. After ripening for 24 hours, transfer the cultured cream to the fridge and let it chill for another 24 hours. I started out with making butter in my blender, which is totally doable, but it's loud and chaotic and it takes multiple batches and it's just not fun to do. It's tedious. So we tried to do it with a power tool, like a drill, to make the thing go. What is it?
Failure.
He made one in a 5-gallon bucket with the motor of a fan and a paddle that he got off of Amazon. That didn't work. I wanted something that's hands-free, I wanted something quiet, and I wanted something that would do at least 1 gallon to 2 gallons of cream at a time. But they don't make these anymore. I mean, they do, but they're like fancy machines that are super expensive, which is ridiculous considering all the people that are getting back to doing butter and having their own cows and stuff. Then we found this motor thingy on Facebook Marketplace for 30 bucks. And he tried to set it on a 5-gallon bucket. It didn't work. And then we ordered a 2.5-gallon jar from Amazon. And now we have something that works. This is dreamy, amazing, comfortable. It's quiet, it's consistent, it's fast, it's hands off. It churns a little bit better if it comes up to like 55 degrees or so, like not fridge temps. I haven't temped this. I just let it sit out for a little bit. It's probably a little bit too cool still, but I'm not gonna worry about it. You can see the line, cream comes down to here, and this is milk. This is clabber. It's all going to churn. You'll just have that will turn into buttermilk. I don't worry about it being perfect for this. So my husband attached this to this lid, and then it was a little bit wobbly, so he put these pieces of plastic on either side to hold it flat so it wouldn't wobble. You ready to see some magic? Listen to how incredibly loud this is. Ooh, so loud. You can see how it's getting a little bit grainy in there right now. So now it's not moving as freely. You can see it's getting a little bit more thick. And it just kind of like chokes itself. Look how almost entirely stopped. It's going to make a popping noise soon. It just feels like it's not doing anything and it's never going to get there, but it will. It's picking up speed. Oh, come on. This takes forever. It really doesn't, but I'm standing here, so it feels like it does. Now it's slowing down again. Feels like it's completely frozen. There we go. There's the pop. There we go. Now you can see the granules forming again. And now the separation is becoming more clear. You can see the yellow little sandy bits and then the white base. Now at this point it's almost done. I wait till it's a little bit more defined. This will slow down and become like painful when it's done. So I just kind of listen to the tone of the machine. What I do towards the end, I tilt it. You're not supposed to do this, or you don't have to, but I just like to. Do you hear how it's slowing? Listen. There. That is butter. Woohoo! There's my kettle. I put a colander in there. And then this one sits inside of there so it doesn't like overflow because there's a gap in between those two. And then my cheesecloth. This is a little bit warm. Cleaning cultured butter is different than cleaning regular butter. It requires more manipulation. It's harder to get out the buttermilk. Here's a tip. If you ever find that you have like what looks like whipped cream in the bottom of here when you're done and ready to pour it out, you can pour that into a separate bowl and use an immersion blender to release the rest of the butter. Sometimes it doesn't completely go. So you gather up all the corners. You could let this strain a little bit more by itself if you wanted to, but I find it's easier to just manually get to it and get it over with. I twist it up and lots of buttermilk starts coming out. And what I'm doing right now, squeezing the different chunks of butter as I go through here and kind of expressing this buttermilk. See how it's turning yellow in there as the buttermilk comes out. If you squeeze too hard, butter will come through the fabric, but if you don't work it enough, you'll have too much buttermilk in the butter and then it takes longer to wash it. And because you're washing in ice, if you make it longer, it is more painful. This is the easier part to spend more time with. See, I get a little bit of butter coming out of the fabric here, starting to ooze out. I'm squeezing it too hard there. Want to see the butter? One of the best things about making cultured butter is the buttermilk. It is this creamy, thick, bubbly, frothy, incredible food. When I had been making butter before, you would get the butter and you would get this like bluish, whitish water stuff that just was like, what's the point? But cultured buttermilk, you can do anything with this. You could drink it straight up if you want. I made buttermilk pancakes this morning. I made buttermilk bran muffins. You can use this to culture the next batch of cream or to culture a cheese, a 1/4 cup per gallon of milk. But it is something that you do not want to throw away if you can help it, even though I do because we have too much. I mean, it's just alive. It is so good. Let's taste it actually. I really haven't tasted this straight up. Ooh, it's tangy. It's better than just straight up clabber. That's yummy. I don't want to drink it. I'm not like that, but it's yummy. This keeps in the fridge for at least a week, maybe 2. I have some in the back of the fridge that hasn't gone bad yet. It just continues to smell tangy and milky. If you have the buttermilk in quart jars, as it sits, you will see it starts to separate. Just shake it up before you use it. If you get it at the store, on the plastic containers of the cultured buttermilk, it says to shake before using. It's probably separated in there. You just can't see it because they're opaque. Don't be horrified, but I'm actually going to feed this to the pigs because I already have a ton of buttermilk on hand and I don't need more. Now for washing. So here's your butter ball, drop it in. And then I take my fabric and lay it down over here and clean it out. There's almost nothing on that. I mean, I have a chunk of butter, but that is a pretty clean cloth. I could take the bench scraper and clean it off and I would get like a teaspoon more of butter, but I'm not gonna worry about that. You will see as I start pushing on this little bursts of white clouds coming out, which is the buttermilk. So watch. Woohoo! I'm just scrunching the butter. The ice makes a world of difference. It's very important to helping this get washed and stay firm as we're doing it. So that's about all I can get from there. So I have another bowl of ice water. If you did not do it in cloth first, you'd be stuck squeezing and squeezing and squeezing. The first time I did this, it just took forever. This way is much faster. See how much cleaner that is? Not much buttermilk is coming out. The water's pretty clear. I'm gonna say that's good. Let it sit there for a minute while I get the next step set up. And let me stop right here and tell you something. If you ever wonder at the price of cultured butter or homemade butter and wonder why it's so expensive, I've heard it sells for $60 in New York City. This is why. This is not an easy job. This takes time. It makes a ton of dirty dishes and there's a lot of mess, and I haven't even included the milking of the cows. So, you know, this is what's up, people. And look, I have another bucket of cream ready to turn into butter. Oh. So you scoop up some butter and then just try to get the water out. It doesn't really take that long because it's cold and because you just already kneaded it a bunch. Most of the water is out, but you will see some drips coming off as I squeeze. Shake it off, plop it in, measuring grams so we get this whole amount done. And let me tell you, people, you want to get every little bit of butter at this point because you just worked your ass off. 1342 of butter, which is right around 3 pounds, I think. So to measure the salt, 1342 times, it's 1.7% salt, so 0.017 equals 23 grams of salt. I'll do 22. This is a salted butter. It will taste very salty, which is good. I first thought it was too much salt, and so I dialed it back. But then I realized I liked it better with more salt. The other thing you don't want to do is add coarse kosher salt. My regular salt that I use for making cheese, I do not use it for doing butter because the granules are thicker and they do not dissolve fully in the butter and they create a texture. And you don't want to have any texture in your butter. So 22 grams of that. All right, next step, whip the butter with the salt. You could do it with a hand, you could do it with a spoon. I just mix it in the food processor. I already have the bowl dirty. It's easier that way. All right, I'm gonna say it's good enough. A taste. This butter has it's fat, but it tastes almost like there's a oomph to it. It might be umami. There's a depth to it. It's not just butter, grease, fat. There's like body, there's lift, there's power to it. It has this extra something that is so good. I gave a pat of this to my friend. She said she was like taking a knife and shaving off little pieces of it and eating it because it's so good. All right, before this warms up too much, we now want to get this wrapped. But first, you guys, I really have got to clean up. Like, I can't even move in my kitchen. This is just chaos. Let me clean real quick. I'll be right back. This is a grease and water resistant paper. It's kind of like wax paper, but it's more slick than brown cheese paper. It is perfect for doing butter. Two 2¾ pounds plus a little bit here. Is it yummy? Yeah.